Hello and welcome to What the Lux with me, Fred Moore.
And me, Anant Sharma.
Together we lead Matter of Form, a design consultancy specialising in brand, digital experience and content. And this is a podcast that calls time on tired ideas of luxury.
Alongside industry luminaries and thought leaders, we explore what truly defines category-leading products and services. Arnaud Champenois has spent over 2 decades perfecting the art of what I think you've referred to as contemporary nostalgia.
Contemporary heritage.
Contemporary heritage, fine. And you've made, I think really successfully, you've made the past feel urgent and relevant again, which I think is a real success of what Belmond has done over the last decade. You're Senior VP of Brand and Marketing at Belmond and the architect of the Art of Belmond. Very successful, very sexy campaign, I love it, that's transformed a collection of luxury hotels and trains into what you've referred to as places with soul. Personally, from Cartier in London to L'Oréal's luxury division to starboard hotels across Asia, your career has kind of mirrored the luxury market's move from products to experiences, which I think is interesting. You know, we all know this shift is happening. I think it's a great shift, personally. And now you're kind of like Belmont's under LVMH's sort of capital. The capital takes a long-term view, which is nice, presumably, to be thinking about how to build something that's future-proof rather than just one that meets tomorrow's commercial goals. And, you know, I think you've always, to mirror that, championed slow luxury and that idea that the journey itself is the destination. So whether it's the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express crossing Europe or the new Britannic Explorer, which I think launched this year, didn't it?
Yeah,
Cornwall.
just launched.
A very slow journey to
A month
Cornwall.
ago.
Yeah, I'm really interested to talk a bit more about that. Arnaud believes that luxury travel is about reconnecting with a golden age, the romance of travel that once existed that's perhaps been eroded by our flighty desire to get on a plane and go places for a quick weekend. But all of this is less about speed and more about soul. Arnaud, welcome to What the Lux.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Arnaud, your career has taken you from luxury goods, Cartier, L'Oréal, to hospitality, and now you're at Belmond, where you've been for a while, and how we first met. We worked together for almost 7 years, I think. How did this journey teach you about luxury's shift from things to experiences? What's your view on that?
Well, I think I've been very fortunate because, as you said, I started with products. So at Cartier, working on watches and jewelry. And then I moved to L'Oréal, where my big experience was developing fragrances. So I was in the luxury product division, and I worked with fashion designers such as Victor and Rolf or Giorgio Armani, Ralph Lauren, to really develop their new vision of beauty, but especially in fragrances. So it was kind of like really how you take the vision of someone and then you put it into a product. So I really enjoyed doing this for about 10 years. And then I had the opportunity to move into the travel industry, which is actually exactly what the customer was doing. They were shifting from buying and owning products to spending more and owning experiences. So it was a really, really interesting move. And I started my career in hospitality and travel with Starwood. I was managing W Hotel, St. Regis, Luxury Collection, Meridian for the group that was based in Asia. So I was like really developing the brands for the Asian markets. And then I had the incredible chance to join Belmond a couple of like 7 years ago now. And it was a great opportunity to shape the brand and to shape the future of travel through this brand. And we got acquired by LVMH just after I joined, which was a fantastic opportunity to really have the freedom to create and to really think about what is travel today and what will be travel tomorrow.
I remember that moment when the acquisition happened because we were working together at the time, I think.
And we work on the website.
Yeah, exactly. And I just remember thinking at the time that it was one of the rare occasions where everyone seemed happier and more empowered post-acquisition. It's quite rare for that to happen. You know, the business is so much stronger and has had the autonomy to achieve its own creative goals without being asphyxiated by LVMH. What about that partnership what is it that you think has bred the sort of success and freedom that you've had?
Yeah, I would say it's freedom. I think LVMH loves heritage brand, but they know how to make them relevant and contemporary for a new generation of guests and travelers. And so this is exactly what we've done with the brand. We kind of like invested into a long-term strategy, which was very based on a property-first approach. So for those who don't know Belmond, we own about 45 properties around the world. They are trains, incredible legendary trains like the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express, their hotels, their boats and safaris. We operate in 20 countries. And the beauty of this portfolio is that every single property is almost a brand. So the Cipriani Hotel, the Splendido, the Mont Nelson in Cape Town, Copacabana Palace in Rio, they're all beautiful brands. So the strategy of LVMH that we are running today is like, it's a property-first approach. So every single property is a brand in itself. And Belmond act as a curator. So curator in culture, and also giving through the entire portfolio a red thread, which is around what I call slow luxury.
Yeah.
LVMH gave us the freedom and invested long term into the brand, and this is what really changed over the past few years.
Can I ask you a question that's like a 101 of hospitality that I suspect many listeners might not understand, which is, what's the relationship between the operator and the asset owner? And what are the different versions of how that works?
Yeah, so it depends in the industry, it's very asset-free. So most of the competitors don't actually own the building.
Yeah.
They run the brand and the operations. Us at Belmond is very special because we own the assets.
Right.
So we are not asset-free, except a couple of properties. But most of our portfolio is owned by us. So which give us a very good way to monitor the operations and what we really do and how we can really project the vision into the experience.
How do you sort of take learnings across the portfolio and sort of bring them back to head office and then redeploy the things that really work in one property across the group?
Well, I think the beauty of a brand today is that, as I said, every single property is a brand in itself.
Yeah.
So they have so many stories. First of all, they all have a great history. We are a heritage brand. Most of our properties have an incredible heritage, and they have a very specific role within their destination. So what is interesting for us is how we take the history and the role they have in the destination, but we project that into what I call contemporary culture. And this is how we're going to create tension between their past and what we want the property to be in the future. So this is the beauty of the operations today, how we make every single property relevant for today's world and for new customers. So we have invested a lot in renovation, for instance. So we are renovating our portfolio slowly but surely. We have started with a very cute property in Portofino called Splendido Mare, which is in the village. We work with French architects called Festen, and inspired by mid-century modern design, Italian wave. They have completely revamped this beautiful fisherman house. Then we went to renovate Maroma, which is our property in Mexico on the Riviera Maya. We work with Tara Bernard, the British designer, and she really got inspired by all the incredible craftsmen and the quality of the woodwork, the stonework in the region. So we've done a really beautiful work when it comes to craft. And interior design is very, very special, very Mexican. It really reflects the true spirit of the Riviera Maya. Then, more recently, we relaunched the Splendido Hotel in Portofino. We work with Martin Broninsky, who is also based in London, and with its incredible creativity and talent, he reinvented the hotel, but really keeping the soul of a place, which is an old monastery. So you can really enjoy the view and the beauty of a national park where we are seated. So this strategy is really about investing into our products. What I call products is our hotels, our trains, our safaris, and to renovate them, reimagine them for a future generation of guests.
When you're looking at future acquisitions, do you use the brand as a way of auditing whether these acquisitions are appropriate or not? Or do you just go on this sort of visceral response to the beauty of a place?
We always try to assess the future properties through our brand strategy. So how they reflect what we call contemporary heritage. So how these properties have a role in the history of the place, but also a role to play in the destination, and what's the potential for the future. So this is always how we monitor the development strategy. Then we have a real philosophy, which what we call slow luxury. How, from a destination point of view, from an experience point of view, we can develop a strong positioning when it comes to culinary experiences, wellness strategy, when it comes to adventure as well. I think the way we pick future acquisition is always through these lenses. It's how we...
I think slowness is just so important in the world we live in. And I think the last 2 years and the onslaught of AI have forced a reinspection of meaning. You know, when you optimize life to the point where things are so easy, you almost need an excuse to take the slower path. And when you invest in your travel experiences, that is the perfect excuse to just slow down, connect, reinspect the things that you would otherwise take for granted and find joy in them. And I think that it's really important in luxury for brands to represent that slower pace. I think it's vital.
Yeah, I think with Belmond, what we wanted to do is we wanted to invite the travelers to discover a new pace of travel, to enjoy slowness through their experiences. So I think what we've done over the past few years is really invest into everything we could disconnect them from their daily life, and reconnect them to what matters the most: nature, culture, well-being, themselves, and really create environment and almost like little bubbles where they could enjoy slow life with their friends and family. And I think this is why the brand is so successful today, is because we create very, very special place which are authentic, genuine, full of characters or teams. And it's really a place to disconnect.
I mean, it's really slow in some cases. The Britannic Explorer, for example, takes days to reach Cornwall.
Yes.
How does it take so long?
Yeah, so it's a 3 days journey, 2 nights. So here you are on a new product that we just launched in the UK. It's called the Britannic Explorer. We have 3 routes. We can go to Cornwall, we can go to the Lake District, and we can go to Wales. Apparently, it's really, really beautiful region in the UK, and we are very pleased to explore it. I think the idea here is it's an experience on board, but it's also an experience off board. So you stop to discover the region. So for instance, if you take Cornwall, you leave from London, but then you go to Somerset. And at Somerset, we go to Hawthorne and Worth. We're going to explore the Garys. We're going to have lunch there. We're going to explore a bit of the Somerset region. Then you go back on the train. You're going to have an amazing experience with Simon Rogan, with the 3-star Michelin chef in the Lake District, who is actually the chef on board of our train. So this is also a culinary experience you will experience on board. And then we have a spa with Wildsmith on board. So you can also have a beautiful wellness experience on board. So it's kind of like an on-board, off-board experience. And that's why it takes so much time. And it's really also a way for you to have some downtime in your cabin where you can read, where you can just like see the landscape through the window. It's a very special experience. This idea of reconnecting to yourself and to this notion of time.
Yeah. Is it quite private, or do people become quite good friends?
So you decide, actually. At the beginning, I think people love to have this kind of moment by themselves and downtime exploring, the landscape, passing through the windows, reading a book. But then from, the happy hour to the dinner, it's quite social experience where you can meet people and have this kind of like very lively and busy time with your friends and family, but also people you would meet on the train. What I really love about the train experience is this notion of time capsule as well. I think it's almost like you are in behind closed doors. It's one space, it's one notion of time, and it's also one set of characters, the teams, the staff, which are all very, very genuine and happy to be there and welcome you as a family, and the guest. And it's almost like a set of characters. It can become like a play sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Where you have like a very, very special atmosphere, which is...
I think hospitality and the journey that you guide your guests through is a form of choreography. You know, you are inviting people into a stage and then a series of scenes that allow them to inhabit different characters or versions of themselves, which I think is liberating and important. But then also to see things through the lens that you provide them with.
Yeah.
You can be in the same place and see it in different ways.
So to go back to your point on this notion of scene and theater, I think it's one of the founding acts of Belmond when Jim Sherwood created the group 50 years ago. He bought the Cipriani in Venice, which is like really this legendary hotel with a very, very strong past in history.
It's amazing.
And he bought some carriages of a Venice Simplon-Orient-Express, and he restored that train and relaunched the train in 1982. And from these two founding acts, the Cipriani Hotel and the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express, we built this incredible, exquisite portfolio. Actually, he built with his wife. And it's been an amazing way for us to take this portfolio and, you know, reinvent it, reimagine the experiences in these legendary hotels.
Can I ask a question? Like, one of the things that we're quite interested in the podcast is founding spirit. I think people talk about history and heritage in luxury brands, but they forget about the personality at the heart of it all. They were all mavericks or innovators or people who chose to live differently or do things differently, and then they become adopted as status symbols. They become you know, popular in culture because of doing something that's a bit edgy or different. What was James Sherwood like?
Well, actually, Jim Sherwood and his wife wanted to collect exquisite hotels and trains and boats to travel with their friends. So it was actually a very personal objective behind. And the idea was really to collect this exquisite portfolio of legendary assets around the world and to travel with their friends and families and explore new countries as well. There was definitely a pioneering spirit. You know, they were the first one to develop luxury hotels in Peru, in Botswana. And I think from that pioneering vision, the group has shaped somehow the future of travel.
It must have been a real thing back in the 70s to go and just set up a hotel in Peru, you know, or like far-flung places from where you originate. You know, it must have been a really complex endeavor.
Yeah, it was complex, and I think the portfolio we have in Peru is exceptional because we have 5 incredible hotels. One is actually within the citadel of the Machu Picchu, and we have also 2 beautiful properties in Cusco, the Monasterio Hotel and the Palacio Nazarenas. But we also have 2 trains. We have the Hiram Bingham, which is a train going up to the Machu Picchu, so really, really fancy.
So cool.
And we have the Andean Explorer, which is this train at 4,000 meters across the Andes, really crossing the country from Arequipa to Cusco, going up to the Lake Titicaca.
What I think is interesting about Belmond, it's almost like the diametric opposite of Oman in some ways, in that it's quite an energetic brand and it's quite sort of, you know, it's less about spiritual solitude and it's more about sort of, you know, the energy of the moment. Yet it seems to work quite well in tension with this concept of doing it all slowly.
Yeah, I think at the heart of the brand there is the mission, which is to perpetuate the legendary art of travel. And this idea of perpetuating, it's really about reimagining.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make and shape the future of travel? So this is also all the work we're doing with contemporary photographers today to kind of capture the destinations and our properties with their personal and daring lens, and to inspire a new generation of travel, to discover the world, to connect with communities, to really explore what is it all about to travel.
It seems obvious to me that you run the brand almost like a fashion or a lifestyle brand. And I think that's really interesting, you know, from your collaborations with contemporary photographers through to an art direction that balances, the glamour or the nostalgia of travel that existed in a year once gone, through to actually being quite contemporary and edgy. And so who are the photographers and what are the types of initiatives and what's the balance that you strike between those two ends of the spectrum?
Well, you're absolutely right. I think what we've done over the past few years was to try to create desirability around the brand beyond travel. So how to attract people who have worked in fashion or in design or in other fields, and to bring them to our brand to shape the future of travel together. And this is what we started to do with contemporary photographers. So inviting very daring photographers from fashion world like Coco Capitan, Colin Dockson, Chris Rhodes, Jack Davidson, and to invite them with a very personal and daring vision to capture our destinations and our properties around the world.
How involved do you get with? Do you just give them free license?
No, we really work together on like a clear brief about what we want to capture. But at the end of the day, their vision and their personal experience on property is something very, very special and very unique. And this is what we curate together with the artist, and we really let them explore that side of their creativity on property. And this is what I really like in the Legends campaign, which was really the idea of inviting these great artists to capture the lifestyle on property in a very personal way.
Yeah.
And now this has been a very, very successful campaign. So it became almost like a cultural object.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing with our partnership with the Parisian publisher RVB.
Yeah.
Launching a collection of contemporary photography books. And we are also partnering with Photo London. We are partnering with Paris Photo now. And these cultural objects, this body of work of these photographers becomes exhibition where you can really connect to our destinations and properties in a very artistic way.
Well, I think that is so important to connect at that level because, everyone's seen the postcard version of this world. It's not interesting anymore. Do you know what I mean? But to have the confidence to lead with a detail, to have the confidence to lead with something that summarizes the energy of a place, or the spirit of a thing, requires more confidence, but ultimately is far more alluring than leading with the beautiful vista. I mean, the turquoise sea means nothing.
It's funny you use the postcard reference because, for instance, we have a property in Anguilla called Cap Juluca, and it's like really like the perfect postcard, like white sand, incredible blue. And we work with Gino Edwards, and his vision of the place is very authentic, and he really trying to capture the true spirit of the Caribbean, talking with people, spending a lot of time capturing the beauty of the sand, but also the leaves, the nature in a raw way. Quite different from the postcards, actually. And we are publishing his book in a couple of weeks at Paris Photo, and you will see it's a very different vision of, the property and the Caribbean in general.
One builds desire, but the turquoise sea encourages conversion, and so you end up in that tension between, creating desire and allure and brand building, frankly. That is long-term brand building versus the things that are functional that people need to see in order to purchase. And, we definitely, I think, as a world have swayed too far towards purchase and a little bit too far away from brand building. I suppose you're fairly fortunate in that you work with LVMH, who are about patient capital, long-term returns, and can take that path, which I think many wouldn't be able to take, which is to lead with things that aren't about the product.
Yeah, LVMH is all about long-term brand building and investing into the creativity. So how they led the teams working on brands to create and think long-term. And brand building is really at the heart of a strategy.
Slow luxury is your philosophy. Slow luxury means many things, from people going abroad less frequently but for longer, but also to experiencing things in a way that is more considered.
Yes, I think slow luxury, the vision behind it is to discover a new pace of travel, and also experience the destination through different lens. So from a culinary point of view, what is connect with the terroir, so the land and the people behind the destination. From a cultural point of view, exploring the art scene and the beauty of the heritage of the destination. We have this notion of epic journeys, which is more like the adventure side of the brand. How, especially when in our trains, it's very slow, but it's still an adventure.
Yeah.
I say it's an adventure with champagne, but it's an adventure. And this is part of the slow luxury philosophy. And the last aspect of the slow luxury philosophy is also what I call celebrations, how you celebrate life with friends and family, and how you have this moment in time where you can take the time to have a long lunch and, enjoy the view with a glass of Pinot Grigio in Splendido and really relax and disconnect.
You collaborated with all sorts of people like Wes Anderson and luminaries in the world of culture and design and fashion and lifestyle. Can you bring some of those to life? I think they're interesting.
Yeah. So we have been very fortunate to invite some very, very famous creatives to help us to shape the future of travel and some of our trains or properties. A good example, as you mentioned, is Wes Anderson. We invited him to reinvent one carriage of the British Pullman here in London. Actually, Wes Anderson was a set designer. He started his career as a set designer, and he's absolutely passionate about interior design.
Yeah,
and
it shows.
Yeah, and this is what he's done brilliantly in the British Pullman, to kind of take his own very own and personal universe and put it into our train, but respecting the soul of our train, of course. I really invite you to live this very experience.
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah. We also work with JR, the French contemporary artist. I think he started his career as a street artist, but then he evolved in working with many different mediums, such as photography and craft. And the work he's done for the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express is absolutely exceptional.
Yeah.
The carriage itself is called l'Observatoire. And yes, it's a full carriage that you book, and you have your own living room, bedroom and bathroom, and you can really host mini parties also, because you have a full carriage for yourself when you book it. And it's very special because part of the ceiling is up into the sky. You have a fireplace, you have a bathtub, so it's like a really lavish but like exquisite experience.
If you throw like a party in it, do you normally book the whole train out?
You can. So the buyout business is a really booming business at the moment.
Billionaire buyout.
Yeah. So we are hosting a lot of people, taking our trains for their birthdays or to celebrate life, or success. So yeah, you can book all our trains.
Do many do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a very, very famous birthday parties over the past 2 years. Yeah.
What are the launches that you're really excited about with Belmond?
So today we have a very active plan, because, as I said earlier, we are renovating a lot of our properties. So next year we will relaunch the Villa San Michele, Florence, which is a beautiful property. Actually, the facade has been designed by the Michelangelo School back in time. And so it's an amazing opportunity to renovate this property, and the gardens are exquisite, and we're going to have like an amazing experience from a culinary point of view. From a wellness point of view, we're going to have a Guerlain spa. So it's going to be really a complete and holistic retreat on the hills of Florence, with the best view over Florence. And I guarantee it's going to be very, very special. We are opening in April 2026. So definitely a very, very busy year next year for Belmond.
That's interesting. How did you when you're sort of deciding to work with Dior or other brands, and you bring them into your ecosystem, how do you manage the relationship and the partnership? Do they basically take care of it, or what's the interrelationship?
Well, that's the beauty of a brand and the group LVMH, is that we have many brands to collaborate with. So when it makes sense for some of the destination, we do partner with sister brands such as Dior or Guerlain. We work also with many champagne brands with the group or with fashion brands. So it just needs to be always absolutely authentic in the way we work with them and to really reflect the true spirit of the destination.
You've said in the past that Belmond has a service that's a form of art, which I think is a charming way of putting it. In this sort of world of sort of automation and technology and, sort of basically, everyone's trying to scale their service offering. And how do you maintain that human artistry and hospitality?
I think it's through personality. I always say that our teams are characters of Belmond. They represent the true spirit of the brand. Yeah. And through their very own personality, they act almost like actors somehow. They are really enjoying connecting with our guests and exchanging, and they build relationship with our guests, and it makes the experience very special and quite personal as well.
The role of a GM, I think, is the ultimate and most beautiful expression of why humans are on this planet.
Yeah, the general managers, they are the brand ambassadors. So they really need to infuse and reflect the entire brand spirit.
Yeah.
So, and live the brand. Yeah. Actually, I always say that us, brand people and general managers, we need to live the brand we work on. And we need almost to be clients of our brand and really be passionate about that.
Yeah.
And this is something I really, it's my motto, to live my brand.
Yeah. To the team, live it.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say, I want to hire people I want to have dinner with.
Yeah.
Because we spend so much time with working together on brands but it's great if we get on well and if we want to really spend quality time together. So I think it's how you create a great team and creativity within a team.
Do you ever picture a parallel life where you might have stayed in retail?
In retail?
Yeah. I'm just interested because I think it's really changed. We were in retail for we did all luxury brand retail.
I think what is super interesting at the moment is that all the categories are blending. So when you look at retail, contemporary art, travel, fashion, almost like customers, they want it all at the same time, in the same place. And this is what is really, really interesting at the moment, especially in travel and retail, is that, and also F&B, food and beverage. I think everything is becoming merged into one experience. And this experience needs to create emotions and memories. So to really deliver on the satisfaction. I think this is quite interesting, this notion of the categories are blending at the moment, and you can, and especially in travel. And this is actually what we're trying to do with also our slow luxury philosophy, is how you bring to life under this capsule of slowness, culinary, wellness, celebration, and adventure into one experience.
Arnaud, we have a couple of outro questions which I'd like to ask you. The first of which is, what would you change about your industry if you could change something?
I think our industry, so hospitality and hotels, is not about the rooms at the end of the day, and what it's about the human factor. And this is actually what I would love all the industry to bring back, is the human factor. How, to celebrate connection and a relationship within the destination. And this is what we try to do at Belmond, with bringing to life the destinations through the human factor, connections with communities, connection to the land and the people, the food. How do you bring back to life a destination in a very honest and genuine way?
Yeah. What most concerns you about the world we're leaving next generation? You're not a father, if I remember correctly, but you're a very proud godfather, aren't you? A nephew and a niece. Three, sorry.
Nieces, yeah.
Nieces. What concerns you about the world we're leaving them?
I would say sometimes I feel that the younger generation, there is a fear to connect with other people. Maybe it's post-COVID. And this is, I think, what we need to be careful, how people stay in touch with each other and keep investing in their curiosity for the other, for destinations, for communities, for how do you stay in contact with the human touch.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think, I guess most people to that question have a similar fear around the impact of social media on human-to-human connection. That in summary is I think a serious issue. If we disrupt what we're all put on this earth to do, which is engage with each other, and now further disrupted because we're getting AI to write for us. And so the thing that we're here to do, which is to express ourselves and communicate with each other, we're outsourcing.
But it's very much about this idea of disconnecting to reconnect. So, and actually, this is what we're trying to do at Belmond, is to put you into a bubble where the beauty of a landscape or the heritage is going to create a space and a notion of time where you're going to disconnect, to reconnect to what matters the most: nature, culture, well-being, your own well-being. How are you really going to reconnect to yourself?
I mean, any situation where you're out of your comfort zone is important because it puts you back into attention. And then, Anu, I've got another question for you, actually.
Yeah.
I've only got a couple of minutes left, but if you had to give up your job tomorrow, what would you do?
Well, I'm a true brand guy, so I've always worked on luxury brands, and this is really my passion. But I've always admired architects, so I would definitely would love to be an architect.
Yeah.
And what I really like is how a building or a house can create something very special for people to connect to a destination, to live in, and this is really what I love in this field.
Yeah, it's becoming really interesting now because of architecture that enables or provokes connection, because we're missing it in so many parts of life. And so how architecture has changed to reflect what we actually need as human beings, the sort of visceral urges, and how architecture caters to that, I find interesting. We did an episode with Zaha Hadid, actually, and it's very interesting. We talk about social dynamics and flow and stuff like that. But it's, I loved it.
Yeah, and connection to the environment as well.
Connection to the environment, exactly. How a building emerges from its space. My last question, Arnaud, is what's the thing that you're really excited about in the next 5 years? What do you sort of lie in bed dreaming about?
Well, it's a bit expected, but you were talking about AI, and I think in the travel industry, it's going to be a very interesting revolution. How we take, for instance, the wants and needs of our guests, and we kind of use AI to build more curated itineraries for them, and faster, smoother, how the dynamic between a destination and the desire of the guest is going to come to fruition. It's going to be really interesting, and I'm excited about this.
Well, we'll watch this space. Thank you very much, Arnaud Champenois. It's been a joy.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a great pleasure to talk about travel.
Thanks so much for listening. This has been What the Lux. You can find us on socials at Matreform, and drop us any questions or comments on Twitter using the hashtag #WhatTheLux. Or if you're a luxury brand looking for strategy and design that goes beyond the banal, get in touch via hello@matreform.com and chat to one of our consultants.